Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pharmaceutical Soccer. So happy to be here with you to talk about NSC. Vibes are back. Well, at least I believe vibes are back. They're pretty high at the current moment. Of course, I am here with Valair Shabilla. Valair, it's got to be weird for you. You're going from just you and Clay to now just me. Like, what does it feel like at the current moment to just be the most just structured one on this show? We've had times where Clay is the one that's always here. We've had times that me, that I'm always here. But I feel like this is like your time to kind of shine at the current moment.
I feel like it has been my time since we started this damn show 8 years ago. I have been the glue for this show ever since we started. That's where your words, not mine. So I just want to say that without me, this show wouldn't exist, and I am the greatest to ever be in the podcast sphere. Now that that's out of the way.
So good to know that your ego, since coming back from Mexico, has not dropped off whatsoever.
No, you gotta, you know how athletes are, like, they're like, they're in the mindset, like the Kobe Bryants of the world. I am the Kobe Bryants of podcasts. So we're just going to do that. Well, no, I'm happy to be back. For anybody,
just specifically,
what's that?
Of all podcasts?
Of all podcasts, yeah. I mean, I'm the greatest. So we just, you know what I mean? Like, you have to have that mentality to succeed in the industry. At least that's what every athlete told me. So I'm just going to do that. But for anybody who picked up this show maybe in the last few weeks, we do usually have 3 people doing it.
It's true.
It's just the last 2 weeks have been a little different. So we don't have Clay with us, but Steven Robinson's here. Me, Valair Shabilla, is here. And we have a show for you. So, you know what I mean? Like, let's just get to it.
Wow, thank you, Valair, for letting people that we have a show for them. That's crazy. Can you imagine if we just did that 2 minutes and then just said we were done? Where would we be without the great podcast master telling us that we just had a show there? It's wild. Anyways, Valair, you had a weekend. Was it? I heard you watched golf for the first time this weekend. You have a good one?
Strong word. Golf was on a TV in my peripheral vision while I ate some food. Yeah, I don't like golf. I still don't like golf. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't want to play it. I don't want to watch it. I don't want to talk about it.
Have you ever been golfing, Valair?
Yes, once. It hurt my back and I don't like it. The second time I went golfing, quote unquote golfing, it was for a buddy's bachelor trip. And I paid like $20 and all I did was drive the golf cart while everybody else played. And honestly, if golf was that, I would be so much more into it. But the fact that there's like a low ball and you hit it with a club and all that, yeah, that's not for me, bro. That's not for me. But it's okay. I watched that and then, I watched a little bit of that. And I went hiking this weekend. That was nice. I'm not going to tell you the reason I went hiking or what drove me to that. But if you go to my Twitter, you might see it. And then what else did I do? Oh, I played some soccer this weekend too. So that wasn't bad. Shout out to the folks who run the pickup game at Centennial Park. It's really nice to play pickup soccer in Greece while living in Nashville. That's really fun. And that's it. That was my weekend. What did you do during your weekend?
Sorry, give me a second. I'm currently going to your Twitter to figure out why specifically you were hiking while we were talking.
Oh, this is a great radio right here.
No, I had a good weekend. My father actually visited for the first time in DC while I've been living here, so that has been a good time. Well, it was a good time, except his leg hurt, so we couldn't do any of the like DC walkabout stuff. Because he couldn't really walk. So a lot of the weekend went towards us hanging out and drinking at spaces and restaurants with my father and just catching up. So it was a good time. Valair, we did go to one of your favorite places, though, because apparently now this is just a tourist staple for me to take people, which we did brunch at Ambar, which is a Balkan restaurant in D.C. that does an unlimited brunch.
With my recent sort of fame for a Bosnia video, I feel like I need to go back there and just show them the video I made about Bosnia making the World Cup, and maybe I'll get a discount or something. But great place. I can't wait to visit you again so we can go.
Oh, thanks, buddy. I look forward to you visiting me again as well. But look, Valair and I, we're happy right now. He's still famous in Monterey. I had a good weekend with my dad. And on top of that, Nashville goes in with a fully rotated lineup and still gets a victory away in Charlotte, which are not, especially in Charlotte, do you know what I mean? It would be one of the things going away to a spot that we've had luck in before, but Charlotte is this place, at least away, that we haven't had the greatest ability and greatest luck. And I think for other teams, it's an extremely hard place to play. It's a football stadium, it's turf, it's hard to get used to. They have one of the best home records of MLS team in the East specifically because of that environment. So with that being said, Valair, are vibes just fully back? What I like it's a weird thing to think about. Just one match can turn the tide that well.
Yeah, I don't know if vibes were ever completely gone to start with, but they were fading a little bit, I thought. The Chicago result wasn't great, and then the Club America match, I don't know if it just didn't showcase, I think, the best of Nashville's ability. So they started fading back, and that's a slippery slope. You start losing one match, and then you draw another, and you don't know where that's going to take you. Going away at Charlotte right before Mexico City, we were all kind of like, well, this is going to either not make or break or anything huge like that, but it's going to tell us a lot about where this team actually ranks.
Right.
And what it turns out being is that this team actually ranks pretty high up in the MLS sphere and overall. So yeah, I think vibes are back. It's weird that Nashville doesn't have a home game for a little bit, because now they went to Charlotte. Obviously, they go to Mexico City, and then they go to Atlanta. Pretty, three away trips. But I think for those following along, if Nashville comes back for that home match after that, and they're still on top of the East, and they're somehow in the semifinal of the Champions Cup, I mean, that welcome home, I think, is going to be pretty big. And I think that those vibes are going to be great. If they don't, at least they have one of those two, either semifinal or top of the East. I still think it's going to be good vibes when they come back home. And I think that in itself just tells you where Nashville are in terms of the season. And honestly, I think currently they are, I don't know if they are exceeding expectations massively, unlike last season where they were exceeding expectations massively, but they are at least performing in two competitions better than we expected coming into the season. And then that's just a fact, because we thought one of the competitions is going to suffer because of the other, right?
For sure. And I mean, and that's normally the case for a lot of these teams that are going through both MLS and Champions Cup, where there is some drop off. We're even starting to see that with LAFC a little bit, finally getting their first loss. And, it seems like kind of going into that. I'm kind of with you. I think it's going to be one of the things where if we win over the weekend, whether it is an extra time, not over the weekend, if we win during the weekday, though that match against Chicago is going to be one that we forget about into the ether and just didn't exist for us. It's just going to be one of those things where, hey, guess what? If you look at the table right now, even with that loss in Chicago, we are still in first place in the East, while still very much competing and being a force in this Champions Cup. I would say this is probably the best time to have a couple stretch of away matches, especially going into Atlanta, a team that's definitely on the struggle bus, to say the least. But it'll be... I think something that was said during the broadcast on Saturday was very telling to what this team can be. And I forgot, I think it was Danny Higginbottom that was talking about it, where he pretty much was going over, it's just like, look, they absolutely have a heavily rotated squad from Wednesday, but it doesn't look like this team has lost a step whatsoever. It feels like even with the big guns on the bench, you could place any other player into a position and they are able to kind of grasp and take a hold of what is going on and what they're looking to do. You have the backups that are looking to be competitive and compete for these starting spots, while you have these competitive folks that, want to come out, they want to be top scorers and top assists, leaders and contributors in this league. This team is just fun. Like, it's just really fun to just talk about and watch.
Yeah, and I think it's important also to say that Nashville played their way for most of the match, regardless of the 7 changes they made. And
it wasn't different. You know what I mean?
It wasn't. It was It was exactly the same sort of style. And I think it's also important to note, like, 1 or 2 players will have an off game or an off appearance or whatever, but then that doesn't deter from the entire team, because the entire team, the structure and the actual sort of when you have on any given day 7 to 9 players always playing at their best, 1 or 2 not being at their best is not going to be to the detriment of the team. And that's what we're seeing with Nashville, because they have such high quality. We're seeing a team that, just because Hani Mukhtar is not having a good game, for example, or Wubin Besi is not having a good game, it doesn't mean the entire game is thrown off, because there's so many other players stepping up. And we saw that earlier in the season. We're still seeing it. I mean, look at who scored the 2 goals for against Charlotte, right? So it's one of those things where there's so much quality in the team that 1 or 2 players not being at their best doesn't really detriment the team, because everybody else is kind of doing their part.
Right. And I think that does lead to Nashville currently being number 1 right now in the East. I think it's very, I think just the structure, I think the team depth, I think the team itself is leading to MLS being top of the East. And we did actually get a question from our very own Ben Wright from 615 Soccer. Make sure you check out his stuff, by the way. He writes cool things and does cool stuff. Check that out. So we appreciate the question. And Valair, I'm going to pose it to you first. How sustainable is Nashville's form in MLS? We talk about it a lot, right? With Champions Cup, normally there's some sort of drop off in MLS form. I think we were kind of skeptical and scared that Chicago would be it. What do you think this is sustainable? Do you think the way that Nashville is progressing is something that they can do the rest of the season?
I mean, yes is the short answer. I think what Nashville are doing, and what we just talked about in terms of the depth that Nashville have, it is certainly sustainable. I do think if they make it to the next round of the Champions Cup, the games there would be away to Philly and home to DC. Not Murderers Row. Philly just got their first win of the season in Montreal, barely. And then DC aren't, the team that should give you a whole lot of trouble at home. We'll see, though. And then the weird thing is Nashville does go away to Atlanta after the Club America game, and then they host Charlotte, which is weird because they just played Charlotte. So we're looking at Atlanta away, Charlotte at home, Philly away, DC at home, and then New England away. Honestly, pretty favorable schedule. And yes, it's MLS and anything can happen. And even with the 2 Champions Cup games, I still think Nashville has a really good, maybe they won't win every single game. I don't think that's realistic, but they can draw a couple here and there and still either be at the top of the East or maybe top 2 in the East. And that form continue on till after Champions Cup, depending on what they do, obviously, in the quarterfinal and then the semifinal. The game after that stretch of games, though, it's Sunday, May 17th against LAFC at home. Now, that's going to be fireworks. That's going to be the game of the match day. That's going to be huge. Yeah. So I think realistically, what you'll always look at seasons in chunks. And before that LAFC game, that's one chunk right there. You have those MLS games that like I said, honestly, pretty favorable schedule there. The toughest one is probably Charlotte at home, maybe New England away, just because it's Gillette Stadium. But other than that, you might have a semifinal if you make it through. If they don't make it through, then I think it's realistic for us to expect Nashville, if they go out against Club America on Tuesday, that Nashville will keep their top spot in the East, at least until that LAFC game. I think that's a very realistic thing to expect. And I think the players will expect that from themselves, and so will BJ Callahan.
I think it's wild to me because I think we're at a turning point right now where I think expectations are going to change based on the way that Nashville has performed in these circumstances. We normally would have this Club America Atlanta situation happen, where even if it's a win or loss on Wednesday, I still expect some sort of rotation in the lineup against Atlanta, right? At least something. Especially if there's a win, but if there's a loss, I mean, this is a lot of travel going on right now, and a lot going on where you go up against a team like Atlanta. I still kind of expect a result like against Atlanta, even in this time where normally I'd be like, it doesn't matter in the season, right? I think it's going to be interesting to kind of have a grounded look with this squad because we're having these matches like Charlotte where we probably shouldn't have gotten a result, but we go in and do the job and get it done. I don't know about you. Before that game, I was worried as heck. I'm like, look, we got Club America worried like in front of us. That's the focus. Again, we have showed that no matter who is put in the squad, they can go in and succeed. And anybody else can kind of take, anybody can put the weight on their shoulder and actually carry the game, which we'll talk about the game specifically here in a second, because we do have two games to talk about because we do need to talk about Club America. So we're going to do that all next right here on Pharmaceutical Soccer. And we are back right here on Pharmaceutical Soccer at PharmaSoccer on our Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Also, make sure you are a part of 615soccer.com. Whether Nashville SC is in form or not, we're covering the team. So there's always good stuff, good vibes going on over there. The Discord has been so much fun to be able to be a part of for match day discussion, especially when I live somewhere not in Nashville and I don't get to be experiencing all the watch parties and fun like you guys. So if, say, you are out a visitor from a Nashville fan that doesn't live in Nashville, be a part of 615 Soccer to get all the information there. Also, pharmasoccer.com for merch, all of that fun type of stuff. I'm actually wearing I don't think we have these. Do we have these for sale? Do we have 615 hats? No, we should, though. But 615soccer.com, pharmasoccer.com. Go there for all your fun information.
And I have gotten some questions about the hoodie, the 615 Soccer hoodie. Ben and I are working on it. We'll try to find something to sell them to you guys. Every time I wear that hoodie, people go crazy about it. And I don't get it because it's just a black hoodie with like a logo. but also, thank you guys. It was a short run just for staff, but we're going to try to do something where we do it for some of the staff haven't received theirs and their stuff is still in my trunk. Maybe I'll just sell that because Joel and Omari will just not come pick it up from me. I don't know what to do with it. So maybe I'll just start selling it to you guys. We'll see. We'll keep you in touch.
If you would like to claim Joel or Amari's 615 Soccer merch, Make sure you go leave a review for us, a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify, and maybe we will give you Joel or Amari's merchandise.
I think 3 months is a very fair period for them to pick up their stuff. I just think from, like Lost and Found, what happens at the end of it? You give it away, Goodwill or something. So this is what I'm doing with it. Sell it. I'm going to use the money to go not buy drugs. I said I'm not going to buy drugs. What?
Well, that's good, Valair. I'm glad you're not going to go buy drugs with the money. I just want
everybody to know I don't do that.
Anyways, yes, thank you very much for that antidote, Valair. I appreciate that. All right, look, I think we talk about Charlotte first. I think that's the most important thing. I think Club America was a 0-0 draw that we've seen before, but we should talk about it. But let's start with Charlotte just because of the fact that there was a heavy rotated squad. It was the match that happened over the weekend, and it was a victory. So it's always fun to talk about a victory, a 2-0 win. Of course, goals from first goal.
2-1.
2-1. Oh, I forgot. I'm just going to count it 2-0. I forgot about that other stinking goal. Of course, from Eddie, and second goal from Patrick Yazbak, and then a penalty in the 90th minute for Charlotte from a very interesting play, to say the least. Okay. Not as much rotation as we had in Columbus for the one match of getting out of there with a 1-0 win, but there was still some rotation. That I think some of it is interesting. Matt Corcoran kind of being more in this starting lineup as a midfielder is something that you're kind of starting to see. I'd say Reed Baker Whiting also, I would assume, is probably getting the start over the week just because of the fact that you need a little bit more offense. Are we starting to see some of these maybe not necessarily heavily rotated as much, but are we starting to see just some of these players transform into different roles? Or do you think this is something that's just kind of a one-time thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are multiple positions where players are battling for a starting spot, and currently there are enough games to where everybody's playing that. I asked Reed Baker Whiting about it after the Club America match, about battling with Dan Lovitz, and he said, well, we're both getting our minutes, so it is bringing the best out of us, but we're both getting our minutes. And I think currently that's why you can't really tell. Like Yazbek, Taxeth, and Matt Corcoran, those are three players for two positions, and they're all getting minutes. It's just, it doesn't, at one point you have one player starting and the other not starting. But Nashville did rotate seven players going into Charlotte, which is not a normal thing. I mean, this is pretty heavy rotation. And it makes sense why they're doing it. Mexico City coming up and all. But for Reed Baker Whiting and Matt Corcoran specifically, since you brought those two up, I do think there is a more of a responsibility on them now than maybe we expected or thought at the beginning of the season. But especially with Reed Baker Whiting, I think the expectation was for Lovitz to play the maybe lion's share of the minute, and he'll come on just as a relief. But it seems like it's a little bit of the other way around. But, I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, all of these players are getting a lot of minutes. One thing I did think was interesting in terms of rotations, both Madrigal and Muyl started against Charlotte. Muyl leaving the game in an injury situation. We don't know how severe that is. We're talking to BJ Callahan actually later today. We're recording on Monday, so we'll see what happens there. But those two players have rotated throughout the season. One of them will come in on the left, and then the other one will sub out on the left. So seeing them both start, I think they're both very capable physically, so probably BJ Callahan was not worried about them playing every 3 days, especially for somebody like Muyl, who's known for his physicality, and was the plan to start him in Mexico City. But now maybe we'll see Madrigal start, but it also opens a possibility for Nashville to go with something completely different. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. But those were the kind of highlights. And then Wileggi started in Columbus and is starting here. I think that's also a testament to his physical ability and his sort of just overall role within the team, because you see him be the starter on every single game almost. So that that tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah, I think Wileggi is just very consistently a rock in this squad. I think when they signed him, they had high expectations of what he would be, and I think he's honestly surpassed them already. When it comes to his work rate, his ethic, his fan response, I just think he's a guy that's almost a certain lock no matter what. Obviously, you don't want to go too crazy with him because you don't want him to get injured. But you could tell he's very much integral to the way this team plays. And it's going to be one of those things that kind of, I think, shapes the squad. And then another player that I think is integral to the squad that is playing in a different way than we normally expect is Eddie Tagseth. I mean, him getting his first specific goal, his first goal for Nashville, which was an absolute banger. To be able to have as your first goal, especially in MLS. We got a question from Vipe29 on Discord. With Eddie finally breaking through, do you think it unlocks another level for him? Could you see him a bit more of the offensive side of the game? I know it seems to take a while for players to adjust, settle into MLS before their full potential is reached.
I mean, the answer is yes, but I don't think this goal is the push that he needed. I think he's been pushing forward way more often this season as a whole. If you think about that first game at home, he got an assist, or should have been counted as an assist, to maybe Madrigal when he came up to the left wing area and played a ball through. There's been a couple of those happening throughout the season. And I think that's both from him and Yazbek. Both of them were very clear in the beginning of the season that they want to be more offensive, to get those numbers up, and to be part of part of the attack. I think this is also something from BJ Callahan and his crew. The first full season with BJ Callahan, it was kind of about stability. Let's make sure we're not sort of overextending ourselves. That was kind of the message, right? For BJ Callahan, it was for him to make sure that his ideas are installed in a way that is sustainable. Now it's not showboating, but now it's kind of like, now Nashville is expanding their wings a little bit, right? And that means that you're seeing technical and tactical things happening and positionally happening that the players feel comfortable doing on the pitch, and BJ Callahan feels comfortable relaying to the players. And that this is one of those things where all of a sudden you see Patrick Yazbek in the box, or Eddie Taxeth on the left side. Madrigal is playing this sort of weird hybrid of left wing / striker / center mid. Muyl is playing center mid, left wing. These are the things that are happening year 2 for BJ Callahan that I just don't think he was able to implement year 1, whether it was personnel or whether it was just Nashville didn't even make the playoffs the year before. Let's make sure we at least get to the level where we're making the playoffs. And I think this is, I've praised BJ Callahan a lot for this as early as, this season. But he did something when he first came on in those first 10 games 2 seasons ago, where he looked at the team and was like, clearly they can't play in the way I want them to play. So we're going to do our best with what we have. And he didn't try to change it right away. He played those 10 games, and gradually we started seeing more and more signs until that last game against Chicago away. And then you were like, oh, okay, there's something building here for Nashville SC. And then the same thing kind of happened last season, where it's gradually built into a BJ Callahan, morphed into a BJ Callahan team. And now we're seeing like the pinnacle of a BJ Callahan team. And maybe even there's another level that we haven't seen yet. But I have a lot of respect for coaches that come in and don't just say, we're going to play my way regardless of what we have. And if that means we lose all the games, we lose all the games. No, he came in and he kind of gave it that time. And again, I've said this before, so I'm sorry if you've heard it. But I think that's very important. Taxeth playing up higher up is part of that morphing into that sort of peak Nashville SC. But also showcases that he has the ability to do that. I didn't know he had that shot in his locker, to be honest with you. Seeing him take it, it was a sweet, sweet hit. I mean, it was beautiful to see that. So I didn't think he had that in his locker. He's tried a couple, and they've gone really out wide. I think we'll see him maybe on the assisting going forward rather than the scoring. But just to answer that question really quickly, yes. I mean, I do think this goal is going to be important for him going forward, and I think it's going to mean something for him.
To answer the question really quickly, I love you, buddy. Yeah, I'm with you, V. I'm very much a part where I don't think necessarily it's Eddie. I think it's a development and trust of the system. I mean, let's be honest about him moving up. That wasn't that far up, that shot. You know what I mean? It's still from way back there. He got the assist from Patrick Yazbek, who moved up farther than he did in that central midfield spot. I think it's one of the things where, because there's a lot more fluidity in this system, it takes A, time to develop, and B, trust between players to be able to have that. I mean, there are times that I've seen Eddie as striker this season, but most of the times I see Eddie as a center back in like a Dax McCarty role as they're playing the ball up. So I think, I don't think Eddie at all, I think Eddie broke through last season. I think he became a fan favorite last season for his play in a different spot, in a different way. But I do think Eddie's play is going to be a little bit more seen this year than it was last year. I think last year it was more, look, he's a little energizer buddy that could. If we're not talking about him, that's a good thing. Where at the end of the season, we were talking about him a little bit more because you could see that there was a little bit more fatigue there. Mm-hmm. But I think this season is going to be a little bit more dependent on that midfield of, hey, we kind of need you guys to be a part of the system because you're the quarterbacks of it, right? You guys are running the system here in the midfield, whether it is scoring or throwing assists, that's going to be up to you. And Yazbek was also in the same light in the same way. He was also a part of doing that, which he had another phenomenal match. Somebody that's probably expected to play 90 minutes again on Wednesday. Definitely a lot being asked of him. But do you think this is more... Do you think this is something that we're going to see a lot more of from Yazbek Valair? Or do you think this is, I'm really pushing for that World Cup spot?
I think once he reaches his level, just being the player he is, it's going to be really hard to like lower that down. He gets really into it. He's very, very competitive, as you can tell. And yes, that's a trait for all soccer players. But for him specifically, I think you've just seen him you've just seen him level up. I was watching MLS wrap up, and they gave him the player of the match day for the work he's done. And I think that's a pretty big honor because you had players scoring braces, you had players assisting 2 or 3 goals. I mean, so for him to take that, his assist to Eddie, technically assist, but that was pretty good. And then he went out and got a goal himself, and yes, it got deflected, but he took the shot, and that run was amazing. I mean, he went from almost his own box to the opponent's box. Low layoff by Hani Mukhtar too, not too bad. But overall, he's hit a new level this season. We're getting kind of tired of talking about it because he looks so good. But I think one thing that has pushed both Eddie and Yazbek into this role or into this next level is the competition with Matt Cochran. Because when Matt Cochran's on the pitch, you don't see a drop in quality. You see a player pushing for a starting spot. And the things that Cochran can do are different from what these two can do. So there's a little bit of sort of, it's two-pronged, right? First is, what way are Nashville trying to play? Is there space in behind that Matt Cochran can penetrate with his passing? Or is there less space so then one of these guys are coming in? But the second thing you're working with is the form of the player. So now Eddie Taksev gets a goal. He's on the score sheet. Does he take over Matt Cochran when Nashville goes to Club America? I know he wants to. And I think that actual competition, Clay talks about it all the time on this show, that competition is bringing the best out of these guys. And it also bringing the best out of somebody like Reed Baker Whiting, where he knows that Dan Lovitz is a veteran and has started pretty much every single game before he came to the club. So he knows that's behind him. So he's playing at a higher level. And I think that is going to really bring Nashville to a whole nother sort of sphere within MLS.
Speaking of whole nother sphere, I think there's a couple other players from that lineup that we do need to talk about that kind of just set the tone for the match specifically. Probably not going to get the credit they deserve in the long run, but I do think probably internally they're going to get some credit for it. First of all, Captain Jack Mayer in the back right there at center back. It's one of the things that we've been talking about just from his draft pick, from the money that he's making. It's expected. I think there's more expected of him from that instance, especially being paired with somebody like Walker Zimmerman. But in the matches that he has played this season and the matches that he has started, he's been extremely stout. He's not the same defender, type of defender as Palacios and Waleji. But I think BJ has really found a center back style for him that truly fits in that space. And I think some respect needs to be put in the way that he's been playing.
Yeah, I really thought he had a great game in Charlotte. He was very solid. And he's starting to look a little better on the ball, which I think is very important in this BJ Callahan system. And I don't mean on the ball like when he's passing it laterally to the other center backs, but I mean when under pressure and that other team is pressing you, what do you do? And that was one of the things that he didn't look very comfortable doing. And I think as the more he's working with BJ, the more comfortable he is. I think there's a whole nother layer of his game outside the pitch as a leader, not just with the armband. BJ was asked about him having the armband, and he said, Jack Mayer is a captain, whether or not he wears the armband. He said he is a leader within this club and within this team, regardless of whether or not he's on the pitch or wearing the armband. And I think that's a big testament to his character. We saw him in one of the videos, like he was doing sort of the pregame speech before. And like if you ask about Jack Mayer, like, 21, 22-year-old when he got drafted, like, you'll be the guy doing that for Nashville SC. I think nobody would believe, like, it would just, he was like a kid who came into the squad. He was the youngest one in the squad. And now he's like
I remember him coming to Red Robin and hanging out with us after his draft pick, and he definitely would not have been the one that was the guy leading everybody onto the field. You're right, V. We've seen him grow into maybe a different player that we were expecting it to be, but definitely not one that's less.
Yeah, and I think he plays a very important role here for Nashville SC. Just like we talked about the 3 center mids kind of rotating for 2 positions, there are 3 center backs rotating for 2 positions. And I think the credit will always go to Palacios and Wileji a little bit more because they're a little bit more in-your-face sort of center backs. And also they just have been getting more minutes than him. But I just think that it's important for us to say, because I was critical of Jack Mayer last season. I didn't think he played to his best ability, and I think I've seen him play better this season already. And maybe that's competition, maybe that's just him getting a little bit more experience. But I think it's important to say that he had a really good game in Charlotte.
Also, another player that I wish he would have gotten some sort of goal or something, on the contribution sheet list because he was phenomenal on that side, would be Ahmed Qasim. I think he's such a fun player to watch, but it's also so frustrating in some instances that he hasn't broken through more, I think, on a regular basis. Because when he does have matches like he did against Charlotte, it looks like he is the best player on the pitch. He looks like some, I hate this comparison, but like sometimes he does look like Messi dribbling out there a lot of times, just flowing through defenders in any way, shape, or form. You see it there. You see the potential there. Do you think this is kind of a resurgence of Qasim coming back into the fold?
Unfortunately, just like Muyl, he also got
unfortunately, yeah.
I don't know how serious it is, and he should have earned that penalty there in that look. I'm hesitant to say this is sort of a resurgence for him simply because the question was never talent for Qasim. There was always talent there. He's always been a talented player and always had the belief in himself and the coaches' belief. I don't think that was ever in question. The question has always been consistency and whether or not you can do it over 2, 3, 4, 5 games. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I think that competition is wide open because he can play on both wings. So we're just talking about Muyl and Madrigal both starting. If Qasim is ready, does he play on the left while Espinosa is on the right in Mexico City? Because that would be a huge, huge opportunity for him. I don't know. I'm kind of in a show me phase with Qasim of like, I know you have the talent. Can you do it over 2, 3, 4, 5 games? Until he does it, I'm just not going to make any assumptions about where he is currently.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think the other thing for Qasim too, he needs to be able to show that he can do it as an ancillary piece as well, not just being the guy. Where I think, even if you look at where the ball was being played through, they did a heat map of what he was getting. 61% of the time, they were driving the ball down the right side. They were driving the ball down through him. It was in his hands and in his court to drive that ball in the final third. I think when you have Espinosa and Sam Surge and Hani Mukhtar on the field at the same time as you, it's not going to be the case. The ball's not going to be 100% driven through you the entire time. So what does that mean? That means when you do get the chance, you do need to capitalize. That 5% chance that you're going to get, you do need to be able to capitalize, where I think in those instances, it's been tough for him to be able to show his work. I think he's a player that really does need to kind of like settle into the game a little bit before he kind of hits his talent threshold. Hopefully he can do that a little bit sooner in some of these matches, where if he does have the opportunity, that one opportunity he does take it. I was almost started quoting Eminem there, but I decided to not do that in this instance because he has one shot, one
His
opportunity.
arms need to be spaghetti, essentially. Is what needs to happen.
I do think one player, another player that we kind of had high hopes for, that, I mean, you put it up here as Wubin struggling to find his feet at MLS level. Do you think that's specifically what it is, or do you just think the role that he is in doesn't equal to what we expect from Sam Surridge?
Nobody's expecting him to be as good as Sam Surridge. Sam Surridge is a Golden Boot contender when Messi's in the league. I don't think anybody says Wubin Besic is going to be as good as Sam Surridge. I do think it's a little bit... The drop is higher than I thought it was going to be. And, I mean, he's gotten a couple of goals against Canadian Premier League sides, and everything after that has been underwhelming. I think that's fair to say. Yep. To be fair, I am not judging him on the 2 minutes he plays at the end of each MLS match. I'm judging him on the games he started. I think another thing you can say about it is that the 2 games he started in MLS, he was playing with not the A team for Nashville, so maybe there's something to that. I'm not ready to write him off or anything like that, but I do think it's I think by now I kind of wanted to see more of him. And then, as well as, I don't think he's ever going to come in for Sam Surridge with that many minutes, like in normal circumstances. And Nashville just haven't been losing a lot of games to where they need both strikers on the pitch. So I think that also kind of played to his detriment. And then at the Columbus game, he got subbed off at halftime. So again, this is not to say like he's disappointing necessarily. It's just that he's getting very limited opportunities, but he's getting more opportunities than, say, somebody like Teal Bunbury did last season, and he's not taking care of those opportunities. And back to that Ahmed Qasim thing, it's kind of similar to that. He's just getting even fewer opportunities, and as a striker, you really need to get on the score sheet with those opportunities.
Well, and I think I forgot specific what match specifically it was, but there has been a couple matches where like you do expect Sam to kind of hit some of these opportunities that, he's been a part of, where sometimes it just wasn't on. You know what I mean? It's like, where's Sam Surridge right now? You're in the 70th, 75th minute, like Sam for some reason, this is just not his match, right? He's just not on. I'm not at the trusting level yet, and I don't think BJ is at the same time, of Wubin's being able to come in and be that extra 15 minutes guy to get Nashville ahead. Right. I think BJ still feels like, no, I'm going to hope Sam's able to figure it out for the last 15 minutes. I do think I think Wubin's needs to get to that point where it's, hey, we can trust you to be that guy for 15 minutes. I don't think he's there just yet. I do think he's doing what he's expected to in these matches. I think his hold-up play has at least been a little bit decent. I think he can come in and actually be a presence in the box, but he does need to actually capitalize on some of these opportunities. Before we get into Club America, because you still have to talk about that, we don't talk about refs a ton on this show, but that was one of the weirdest reffing performances I think I've ever seen in my entire existence of life. Like, it was just weird.
Yeah, I didn't think they did a stellar job, to be honest.
I would say mainly, it was more weirder towards Nashville, but I still think it was both. I think it was both sides in the end. But the whole penalty situation where it wasn't barely reviewed by VAR in a situation where he didn't hit the ball at all, but everything's fine. I don't understand.
The weird thing is, they went on a drinking break or whatever right after that incident.
Yep.
And they just cleared the thing. And it's you have 3 more minutes to review this, and no one would be angry at you for taking your time because it's a break. No one's playing.
Yep.
You're not stopping the game for this. So this is a prime opportunity. This is the best time. This is the best case scenario if you're a VAR referee. And it's just nah, we're good.
Yeah, they're just, we're not going to do it. It's fine. Very, very weird. Okay, look, let's talk about Club America. I do think we need to do that at least before we get into the next segment, because we got to talk more about CONCACAF Champions Cup in the third segment. Look, 0-0 draw. I think Nashville was the better team during that match for sure. Just a few opportunities they weren't able to capitalize on. I don't think it necessarily puts them in a detrimental spot coming up this week. And I think the rotation of the squad shows that Nashville is absolutely going to put their pedal to the metal against Club America. But you do wish you had a little bit, a little bit of security, to say the least, going into a match like this on Tuesday.
Yeah, they didn't have a ton of clear-cut opportunities, but they had opportunities. Sam Surridge had a really good one that he shot out wide. Palacios almost got in, and there was just...
Let's talk about your boy, Valair. That was his one shot, one opportunity to get his goal at the end. Your boy, what happened there?
Who's my boy?
If there's one player that I'm talking about, that's
Alex
your boy.
Muyl. Yes. Alex Muyl had an opportunity as well. Look, if Sam Surridge is going to miss that opportunity early on, I don't think you can blame Alex Muyl a whole lot for missing the one at the end. I will say this, he should have done much
Valair
better.
with the most political answer of all time of deflecting
both
blame.
of them could have done better, especially I think Alex Muyl is going to get all the flack because, well, he doesn't score that many goals to start with, and his opportunity was better. And it was at the end, and everybody's going to look at him differently. I am under no impression that BJ Callahan cares one bit about Alex Muyl not scoring that. I think if Alex Muyl is healthy, he's going to start in Mexico City right away. As we said, he got injured. I do want to say Nashville looked good. It was kind of similar to that Miami match where they looked good, just couldn't get anything at the end. They had a couple more opportunities in the Miami match. I didn't think Club America played particularly well. I think they had a couple of moments from quality players, but I mean, honestly, they weren't like this Mexican giant that Nashville can't overcome or anything like that. I do want to say Brian Schwacke, both for the Charlotte game and the Club America game. I know in the Charlotte game he gave up that penalty at the end, but overall, Brian Schwacke has exceeded every expectation we've had for him. Exceeded it by a large margin. He has been incredible both as a shot stopper and on the ball. And I think a lot of these good results are down to him and his goalkeeping.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, he's not. I think it's going to be too close to it. He should absolutely be looked at by Poch for the U.S. men's national team, like the way that he's been playing. If you're looking for a player in form, Brian Schwacke is it. Even after I think that mistake against Charlotte, that dude is on one. It's something that we did not expect. And I think you got to give credit to both BJ Callahan and the goalkeeping coaching and Joe Wills for that. I think they absolutely were waiting for that time for him to be that guy. And he's shown that he can be it. It gives you a lot more freedom to do what you want to do in the field because you're secure in the back. And Brian has been terrific in that. Even with Club America not being, that particularly well and playing well, they can. I know they have the ability to. I've seen it previously. Zendejas is a baller. Like, he can absolutely play and has those opportunities. It's just is when he has the chance to capitalize, do we have somebody secure in the back?
And on the national team front, I know it was said as a joke initially with Schwacke. I don't think he has a real chance to get on this team. However, I will say, once the World Cup is over, the new cycle starts. And the goalkeeping position for the USMNT, for the first time in a long time, is wide open. You have Matt Freese, you have Chris Brady, you have Salentano, you have Schulte. All these guys are MLS guys. There's no reason to think Brian Schwacke can't be part of that group. But it's just not for this World Cup. It's for the next cycle. And honestly, seeing him these first few games of this season, I don't think he's that far off from that level. And I think maybe after the World Cup, he'll get a shot with the national team. And I hope he does for his own sake, because I don't think many people even knew who he was when he signed for Nashville. So, very well done there.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to talk more just about the CONCACAF Champions Cup in a little bit, because we got to do some preview of that. We do have a review, though, that we do need to get into the mix. So thank you again. If you do leave a 5-star review for us on Apple Podcasts or anywhere, we will read them on air. So, Valair, why don't you go over in this review for us?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So this comes from Andy Vick. Andy Vick, Nashville SC fan from out of town is what he says. And he says, Pharmaceutical Soccer Podcast keeps me connected as an out-of-town fan. I started supporting Nashville SC a few seasons ago. I am from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and the only local connection to MLS was because Milwaukee Bucks player Giannis and can you help me?
This is the exact reason why I wanted you to read it. Is because it's oh my gosh, I can't even do it. It's Atutanakimbo.
Atutanakimbo became part of the Nashville ownership group, him and his brothers, by the way. This weekend, I had the chance to see Nashville play in the first time in nearby Chicago against the Fire, and now plan to make this an annual trip with my son. Big fan of the team and a big fan of the podcast. Thank you so much, Andy Vick. That was very nice of you to say. And I'm so glad you have a tradition with your son. I hope this is kind of what makes this game special, and this is very lovely to get a 5-star review and hear your story. I have seen a documentary about Giannis, and it's honestly very, very inspiring, very cool.
Yeah, his story is really cool.
His family has gone through, everything he's gone through, and just how good he is at basketball. For somebody who doesn't know much about basketball like myself, it's very cool to see. And just, Giannis, shout out Andy Vick, and leave us a 5-star review, and you can literally say almost anything in the world, and we will read it out loud. So on this show. So go get us some 5-star reviews.
Chicago's a fun trip too. It's normally one that at least one of us makes. Heck, we recorded a podcast in a hostel together.
I cannot wait for the new stadium there. I think that's going to be a game changer in terms of trips, though, because that's the one downfall is Soldier Field. I don't ever want to go there again.
We have a couple MLS stories to talk about, as well as just kind of talking about CONCACAF Champions Cup, and we have a big match on Wednesday. Tuesday night. Well, for me, it's both Tuesday and Wednesday. Anyways, we'll talk about it next right here on Pharmaceutical Soccer. We are back right here on Pharmaceutical Soccer at PharmaSoccer on our Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Of course, as we mentioned, 615soccer.com. Make sure you be a part of what we got going on there, as well as pharmasoccer.com. Check us out. All of our stuff there. We have merch and all those things at pharmasoccer.com, so check that out. Look, we got to talk about MLS a little bit more. Just some stories kind of there that are very interesting. Montreal being the first team in MLS history to fire their coach within 10 games in 2 seasons of them playing. So shout out to Montreal for that. Got to be honest, I don't even know his name.
Dondell.
Yep, didn't know his name, so I'm just not going to remember any Montreal coach's name previously.
There's no reason for you to do that, because they'll be changed.
It's just going to be gone anyways, because instead of actually fixing what's wrong in Montreal, they're just going to keep firing the coaches, and it has nothing to do with the players them signing or anything like that. But
nope.
It's absolutely the coaching.
But they are effectively the first team to fire their coach this season, which, again, to no one's surprise.
Valair, do you want to take a guess on who the second is going to be?
See, I was pretty down on Philly, but they got a win in Montreal, so I was I think.
Well, no, it would technically be the third because Oscar Pereira was the first.
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
Yeah, Oscar Pereira is the first.
Oh my god, who's gonna totally forgot about that? Yes, of course, Oscar Pereira. Oh,
who's gonna be the third? Who's gonna be the third, Valair?
I think it's gonna be. Okay, hold on. There are more people in this category than usual, but I think just because of how impatient the Cincy fans have been, I think Pat Noonan might be there.
Dang, really?
I don't know if he can turn it around. I'm not really sure. Cincinnati have gone from a constant home playoff team to not even in the playoffs right now. I don't know. I wouldn't fire him because I remember what Cincinnati was before him. But I think there is something there.
Yeah, I think my hot Well, I did have a hot take of Tata Martino being the first one fired, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad take. You think Nashville goes in there with a rotated lineup and beats Atlanta at home?
Yeah.
It might be a chance it's after Saturday that man is fired. You know what I mean? Like it's not great in Atlanta right now.
Yeah, I think regardless, I'm way more likely to see whoever gets fired will be in the East than the Western teams. Not that SKC is terrible, but they kind of
expected it to be like it's a younger guy coming in where it's like you can't blame the coach for that team being as garbage as they are, right? You know what I mean?
And I think they are showing some good signs, and those are the bottom two teams in the West. So really, I think it's going to be more on the Eastern side.
If it is a Western guy, I do think, and this could be a hot take, I don't know. They did beat LAFC, but I could see Phil Neville. Like if they lose two or three matches, if he gets to a point of finally losing like 3 matches in a row or 4 matches in a row, I think he's gone. But the fact that they could lose 2 in a row and then go and beat LAFC has saved his job for 2 years.
To be fair, LAFC were down to their third goalkeeper, and it took a 95th minute winner to get that at home.
Yep.
So I'm not even gonna give him any credit. I am if anybody has been listening to this podcast, I am very respectful when it comes to how I talk about players and coaches, because I think it's within my job as a journalist to be as respectful as possible, to give you the fact, be critical when needed, and be respectful while doing it. However, I will say, I have no idea how Phil Neville has a job. I just don't get it. I don't know why Portland hired him to start with. I don't know why they keep him around. What is his point? What does he do? He throws his players under the bus. He is just utterly incapable of getting results that are important. He's lost against Vancouver like 8-0, I don't know, every season pretty much. I don't get it. I don't understand why Phil Neville has a job in MLS. And when he's not coaching, he's on TV. Can we just not? Like, there's maybe I don't know how he's on TV, to be honest. I don't even remember. It's been a few years. But just, I don't know why MLS. I mean, if he gets fired by Portland, does he get hired again by an MLS team and I have to deal with it again? I don't think
so. I don't think there's any way.
Austin, Houston as well. Both of them, I think, possibility for firing. But I do think the Eastern teams are more likely.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple other MLS stories. Miami still can't get a win in their new stadium, which is utterly hilarious and still hilarious. Unfortunately, Valair gets to sit there and be right for a little bit longer, as San Jose is actually playing extremely well right now.
They're so good.
As they're playing extremely well. We'll see how long Valair is right and how long that lasts. Because
by the way, on that LAFC Portland game, 17-year-old Jude Terry, an LAFC Academy product, put in a beautiful goal. Go see it if you haven't. Just from outside the box, curls it in the top right corner. Beautiful, beautiful goal. So shout out to him. And then the last thing I want to say is kind of sad, but Wissam Abu Ali, who Columbus Crew striker, kind of going for the Golden Boot, very, very, very good striker. He was stretched off and was in tears after the match. So really unfortunate, as Columbus drew with Orlando at home. And that tells you everything you need to know about Columbus currently.
Yep. I think Chicago, too, that loss against Chicago is actually looking a lot better. They're sitting there in second right now, which is very, very interesting to see. I wanted a perspective to have that. And DC United currently has only scored 4 goals in 7 matches. So,
but hey, they're in a playoff position. So
I hate this league so much.
Sometimes you just gotta take it. Take the wins when you can.
I didn't even see that. Okay. So not only do we need to round up MLS, we do need to round up CONCACAF Champions Cup as well, because there was some interesting storylines kind of there. So Valair, do you kind of want to run that down?
Yeah, so Seattle and Tigres are the ones that Nashville or Club America would play, depending on who comes out of that. Seattle lost to Tigres in Mexico 2-0, and the next leg is obviously in Seattle, so we'll see what happens there. It's a long way to come back from 2-0. On the other side of the bracket, Toluca beat LA Galaxy 4-2 at home, and I watched some of that game, and the Galaxy are very lucky to get out of there with just 4-2. Scoring 2 away goals are huge for the Galaxy. Yep. I think they have zero chance because Toluca is the best team in the continent so far this sort of cycle. But taking home, 4-2 is not terrible for the Galaxy, especially considering how good Toluca looked. And then the big one really was LAFC beating Cruz Azul 3-0 at home. Now they go to Mexico, and pretty much other than losing 3-0, they're through. And that's a very, very big result because Cruz Azul is actually a pretty good team. So, yeah, that's what we're looking at in the Champions Cup. Again, if Nashville win against Club America or at least go through, I was joking with Clay the other day about how Nashville just need to tie their way into the final. And just, because they can go get another 1-1 in Estadio Azteca and move on. So they'll be playing the winner of Tigres and Seattle. It is looking like Tigres because they got that 2-0 lead, but Seattle's a very good team and definitely have a chance to kind of make things interesting. But
it's really funny
Tuesday,
because it's
10:30 p.m.
It's really funny because it is a lot different than what we have in MLS when it comes to the CONCACAF Champions Cup. If you look at the top 4 of Liga MX right now, it is Toluca, Cruz Azul, Tigres, and Club America. Like, it is the top 4 teams in Liga MX right now.
Club America's down, isn't? Aren't they like?
Nope, they're in 4th.
Oh wow, they really moved up in the week because they were like 7th, I think. But yeah,
okay. They're currently 4th right now. Oh no, they are 7th. Why does it say they're 4th? Oh, it's the Apertura. That's right. Okay, sorry.
They finished the last cycle as the top 4.
Yeah, that's what it is. Apologies, but they did play. Tigres over the week. So Cruz Azul over the week.
Yeah, and they rotated about 4 players. I think somebody from Discord told us that. By the way, go join the Discord because it's so much better there.
Because then you don't have to just trust in us to do the work, where other people can help us when it comes to rotation and all the other things. But look, we're at the Azteca. We're at the historic Estadio Azteca. I just called it the Studio Azteca. The Estadio Azteca against Club America. Obviously coming in, Nashville just needs a result. No matter what, just needs a result. If they get a 1-1 draw, Nashville moves on. 0-0, it would be going to extra time and penalties. But other than that, Nashville wins. They move on. They've shown that they can do it away previously. Obviously, going to an historic stadium like the Azteca with Club America fans is going to be extremely difficult. You saw what it was like in Nashville. Imagine that times 50.
1,000 times 1.
Yeah. In Mexico.
Yeah.
Also, this match time is stupid. I don't even care. Like, it's still 9:30 in Mexico.
Yeah.
I understand that the 2 countries are different and the way they do things is different. But this match for me in the Eastern time zone starts at 11:30.
Yeah. Even like local 9:30 kickoff is crazy to me. So I get it. I don't understand why they are doing that, but I don't know if it's to be honest, it might be a CONCACAF thing. I don't know if it's a Club America thing or a CONCACAF thing, but regardless, very, very late kickoff. I'll be doing the instant reaction around 1:00 in the morning. So, Steven is in the Eastern time zone. So.
You might be doing it around 1:00 in the morning because it might get to extra time and penalties where that stuff is going to be happening, past that time.
Yeah, I don't know why they're doing this, but that's what we have. And I mean, Club America look. Again, not the world beaters they are. So Nashville has a chance. So with that said, if you stay up and watch this match, you might be rewarded by a good result. And I think, maybe think about it that way. But also you can go to bed very angry. And also there's that side to it.
Right. Yeah, I don't think there's a ton to preview with that match specifically. You saw what the first leg was like. You guys talked about what the first leg. Well, I mean, we just did talk about what the first leg was like. But it very much shades of Miami. Even
Yeah, and
though Club America might be the giant they are, we looked like the better team. So Nashville needs to go in to into the Azteca and show that they are the better team.
this is going to be the first time Nashville played in Mexico, so this is going to be huge. But also, I think, like, on the pitch, there just wasn't much separating those two teams in terms of what was going on the pitch, and I think it's going to be just more of the same going into it. Club America hasn't won a game in 5 games. They haven't won. And a draw favors Nashville heavily. So I just think it's as good of an opportunity as ever for Nashville to play in Mexico as this. However, it's CONCACAF, and MLS teams have been getting CONCACAF since the dawn of time. So I would be lying if I told you, I have high hopes. I do think, however, they have a good opportunity to go there and get a result.
Okay. And we play Atlanta over the weekend in Atlanta. So if you are going, a lot of people I know is always a fun trip to go, always a fun time. So make sure you hang out with your fellow NSC folks and bring up your favorite podcast that's NSC wise with them and be like, hey, Farmer Soccer? Haha, yeah, that's fun if you're in Atlanta. I'm just going to stop talking now. Anyways, Atlanta, not very good.
No, I don't want to spend time talking about it. They're bad. Nashville are really good. And it's not going to be as big of a rotation because there's a week in between that game and the next one, which will be at home. And
Valair normally puts a disclaimer before he makes non-journalistic takes on teams. That was his journalistic take on Atlanta, is that they're bad. That wasn't even it. That was just his his journalistic take.
Yeah, and I think for Nashville right now, it's all about Mexico City. And I will say for our show, there is a possibility we might come back with another episode this week. I don't know yet, depending on scheduling, but we might preview the Atlanta game then. But we'll see if we can get you another episode, even if it's a quick one.
Even if it's at 2 a.m. on
Wednesday
night after the Club American.
I'll just wait till Wednesday. It'll be fine. You know what I mean?
All right. Well, then for now, let's plug and let's just predict Club America then. Let's just do that prediction first. Valair, what do you got?
I think Nashville are going to advance. Why did I say that? Okay, now I got to give you a result. I think it's going to be an intense 1-1 match because I really want Nashville to make it to the final with just all the draws. I think that'll be hilarious. 1-1 match with a decisive goal from, let's repeat the Miami scenario, Christian Espinoza. Boom. There you go.
I mean, it's not a bad thought. A really good thought, actually. I don't think Nashville draws. I don't think Nashville goes into there drawing. I think it's going to be a 1-0 win for Nashville. I think Schwacke keeps up his performances.
He's going to score the goal.
No. No, that is not. That is. I mean, look, if they're down 1-0 and there's a corner in the 90th minute and he comes up, amazing. But no, I think Hani Mukhtar is going to do Hani Mukhtar things in Mexico and put this team on his back and score 1-0 win for Nashville to move on into the Champions Cup. And maybe Valair gets to go back to Monterrey at some point. Who knows? We will find out. Thank you guys again so much for listening to the show. We know this was a little bit of a longer episode, but we still appreciate it nonetheless. We'll always be here to talk Nashville soccer. Again, we might have another episode, during the week, probably based on the result of what happens over the week or what happens during it. So thank you for sticking with us as we're kind of fluid throughout. Really appreciate you listening. We will be back when we see you.